So we're going to talk about mobile payments. Indeed, the question is M-pesa real frugal innovation? I wrote a paper together with Peter, sitting in the back. First, by way of background, a bit about the financial sector. Financial inclusion is considered important for poverty reduction. However, still the majority of the poor remains unbanked. And the same applies to many micro and small enterprises. Of course, such clients are targeted by frugal innovations, so we're looking at financial service delivery, about delivery mechanisms. Of course, M-pesa is one of these delivery mechanisms. And I think it has been mentioned already before, but M-pesa is really considered to be a showcase the frugal innovation. Basically because it's supposed to target, we call that disempowered clients. Poor people, remote people, and dedicated. So very briefly about M-pesa and Safaricom. I think you've heard already a bit about the setup, but it's important to know that they work through agents, almost 90,000 agents. And most of these agents are not controlled by Safaricom. They are their own enterprises, groups of enterprises. And in Kenya, M-pesa is almost a monopoly. They have the biggest part of the market. There are a few other providers. They have a few percent of the clients. But still there are issues for Safaricom. So their technology platform has to be adapted to each type of phone, which is difficult for the most expensive phones, the iPhones, but also for the very cheap phones. So whenever there is a new phone, they have to adapt the platform to it. Then there is the regulation, and you know your customer. So you have to know your customer law, which is difficult to control in remote areas. Right? You basically don't know if these clients have been set up properly. And there is still this learning competition. And finally, M-pesa is just a company that wants to make as much profit as possible. I'm sorry to say. So if you look at disempowered clients, they are more difficult to reach. They have tiny transactions, they're not very profitable, they live more in remote areas, and they have these cheap phones, so you have to adapt the platform to that. So again, a bit of background. We did research in Kenya 2 months ago, basically to assess if M-pesa is a frugal innovation, and we looked at how do they interact with clients? How do they understand clients? How do they listen to clients? Do they provide specific products to these clients? So we had semi-structured interviews with people from the head office, agents, with their field staff, but as well with some clients. And in addition to that, we had research, basically ethnographies we did as well, through a local market research firm called TMS. And we looked at, from the client point of view, what are the worries of clients, what do they want, and what is the role of trust of networks, and what is the gap in the experience journey. This is a bit of business talk, but the client experience journey. And that resulted in kind of a checklist. So what are operational issues for frugal mobile payments? The checklist is here. We came to 7 elements. They're a bit overlapping, so you probably will have to further develop that in the future, but we look at segmentation. So you see that disempowered clients is a specific segment. And how do you develop your services? How do you listen to clients? What is your client contact? And then the idea is that disempowered clients need adapted contact. Same for language. They do not understand all levels of language. Level of networks, feedback, and then do you have specific services to these disempowered clients? Right? This is the check. So these are some of the results. This is specifically for Safaricom or M-pesa. So segmentation is a fairly standard approach, business approach. We thought that not 17 million but 21 million clients. There are only 4 segments and it's based on turnover. And the biggest segment, about 12 million clients, that's the poor people, or people with low transaction turnover. That's already 12 million clients, so that's a very large segment. The good thing is, M-pesa is trying to build more segments and to be more specific, including disempowered. If you look at agents, it's very important. So quite a few research indicates that disempowered clients really have to deal with agents. Sometimes even have to be explained how to use the mobile phone. That's, for Safaricom, an agent is just a transaction generator. It's not a specific client contact where you can, for instance, get feedback. And Safaricom focuses on the super agents. I think you mentioned that as well. Like 700 super agents that deal with many sub-agents. So Safaricom basically doesn't see the people that have contact with their clients, especially not in remote areas. Now then we look at language. In fact, Safaricom only uses one fairly standard level, so they don't adapt to specific disempowered clients. We use English and Swahili, which is fairly well used in the country, but not so much by disempowered people. And it's a lot of written text or SMS. And of course, if you're illiterate, you can't read. So that's why you need these agents. If you then look at social networks, quite some research indicates that if you are disempowered, you base your decisions on what the group does. But for clients, for Safaricom, a client is just an individual that has a transaction. You don't, as Safaricom, you don't talk to a group to solve an issue or listen to the group to find out what they actually want. Listening is the same. The most important listening tool for Safaricom is the call center. They get more than 100,000 calls per week. But the call center is solving issues. So something doesn't work. The call center is not used to understand what the client wants or why things go wrong. They're just solving issues. And then client satisfaction. There is some feedback here, and they use a standard business tool called this Net Promoter Score, which basically means what percentage of clients endorses your service. Now, they have a high score. That's for a monopoly. It's almost a given. There is no alternative. So, do you endorse something? Yes, I have to, because that's the only option you have. This was certainly the last slides were about how Safaricom listens to clients, how they understand them. Now we move more towards how they build their services, how they engage with clients. And if you look at breakthrough services, M-pesa is like 9 years ago, it was a breakthrough service, it was very new. Basically, business literature says you probably don't need to engage with clients because they don't have a framework, they don't understand it. So better do a standalone breakthrough and then develop it. That's still the way Safaricom uses it. So they have techies in their office, they build the service, they roll it out, and then if things go wrong, then they fix it again. That's a really technological factor. Whereas for more mature products, again, the business literature says, fine, what you should do is engage with clients, try to understand them and test the product with them. And that's what Safaricom plans to do. Next is differentiated products, communication and price to your specific clients. If you would say, this is a frugal product, for this specific disempowered client group, you would have a specific product. Right? Safaricom doesn't have that. In fact, they have adapted their product for the high turnover clients. They get better treatment or different treatment. They get more time. It's easier for them to call the center. So not fully disempowered. And if we look at agents, as I said before, that's an important part of getting client feedback. But agents are not used by Safaricom to get any feedback. And so there is some contact, as I said, with the super agents. There's no feedback that is then moved back to Safaricom to say, fine, this doesn't isn't working, how to adapt the product. Finally, the call center, I already mentioned, sometimes even like 200,000 calls per week. It's an important part of client contact. Clients complain about it. This is our small research, as well as ethnographies. And Safaricom doesn't know if clients like the service or not. And the service is just part of M-pesa. Building services, agents, I think this is, oh yes. If these agents are so important, you would say you select specifically agents, you train them, that they understand clients, that they can talk to clients, that they can explain how to use the phone. But the only requirement to be the agent is to be financially sound. If you have the money, you can be an agent. And if there is weak service, agents are not suspended. They're even not suspended if they're fraud, unless they're reported for that. That happens rarely. And even if you're reported, you change your name, your brother then in law becomes your agent, and you can continue your malpractices. That, which is quite, I find quite interesting. So you have, how do you improve your services? Well, you develop your services over time. There is this called total quality management, or Six Sigma, to achieve total client satisfaction and stuff like that. But this is really about, if you do it that way, you have to have insight in your clients. What do they want? What do they need? And solving issues means you need insight in your technical approach. How does your system work? How can you glue it? How can you improve it? Right, simplicity is, I think, quite straightforward. But even the fee structure is considered to be complicated. That's probably the basis of your whole product. This is a bit of a summary. So we have this checklist of 7 elements, and none of these elements Safaricom scores well if you follow the checklist. So there's hardly any segmentation, like client contact, language, that use not specific language for this level, and so on and so on. So that brought us to the conclusion that it is actually questionable if M-pesa is really a frugal innovation. We all know it's a big success. Everybody knows about it. It is giving general services to Kenyans, but probably they are more interested in the high turnover clients. And they have not built in approaches to listen to clients, understand them, to get feedback, to get specific services to poor people. And of course they are hard to reach. Let's not go through it. This is a bit the potential improvements that there were in the text. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Tom, forgive me if I make a mistake, but correct me if I make a mistake, but I think Chris is running the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, can you set the chair some
So, yeah, thanks for this interesting presentation. I've actually done work on M-pesa myself, so I definitely see a lot of your points related to the types of things. I thought like the points you had, often they can sometimes be a bit contradictory between each other, so I just wondered about the balance. So for example, in M-pesa, I think there's a trade-off between quality and allowing kind of more local adaptation. So allowing those agents and those super agents or even customers the ability to maybe adapt the service themselves and to allow things which are more suitable. But then on the other hand, the requirements of that of Safaricom, the lead firm, needing to make sure it always keeps kind of up with all these kind of know your customer and the banking regulations. So that there's this balance there. So I just wondered, obviously, I think even for Safaricom, it may be more important that they keep regulating that. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts about how those two might balance. And then similarly also around this kind of balance between having a very consistent and clear service and also catering for the kind of quite complex kind of customer, because we're not just talking about kind of a generalized basic activities. There's so much different patterns of activity among different kind of segments in different places in Kenya. So in northern Kenya, the low-income user will be using M-pesa in a totally different way to one an urban slum dweller, and each of those may require tweaks in how the agent patterns work, how the pricing structures work, which will be more beneficial and kind of attract them more. So I think I just wondered also if you had any thoughts about that kind of balance between kind of consistency and providing very kind of focused services. And then a third point, you talked very much from the firm perspective. You did mention at the start though around monopolies and saying that Safaricom is a virtual monopoly. Do you think some of these kind of problems around frugal, about this innovation not being frugal as your conclusion, or being questionably frugal, comes more really from the fact that there's just no competition, and it's quite Safaricom quite regularly with M-pesa does quite anti-competitive things like blocking other services from using it. Do you think it's just more like from a wider policy perspective, or do you think that's a factor that could kind of roll into some of these problems that you talked about? So, those are the points.
Could I answer these
I
questions?
think first you answer this, and then we take a round of their questions.
But could I answer them in 3 years' time or so? Hurry up. Let me give it a try. So,
3 minutes.
Let me try to answer your question. So the main idea is that if you want to be a frugal innovation, I think you will really have to understand your clients, meaning you have to be able to listen to them and take into account their difficulties. And the point we try to make is that Safaricom appears not to be interested in clients, but they appear to be interested in transactions. And the bulk of the transactions is, let's say, the middle group. And don't get me wrong, these people are still not very affluent. Right? They're not very wealthy, probably see. And adapting your product, so the current product appears not to work for the disempowered client, the poor, remote, and uneducated people. So you would assume, would it be possible to adapt this product to these clients? To give a very simple example, so whenever there is an issue, you get an SMS back, which doesn't help if you can't read. Very simple, the technology allows you to send a voice SMS. So you could say your specific product for this disempowered clients would be adapt your services that they don't have to read, but there's much more oral information. And that still doesn't change that you have for each agent you have a specific product. Now that wouldn't work. So you have still your platform, but for the lower end of the market you would have then an adapted product. And in my opinion that would make it a frugal innovation. Then the second thing is that if you look at agents, so now there is a free, basically everybody who has enough money can become an agent in Kenya, which is a great thing because it allows Safaricom to have as many agents as they want, 90,000 agents. They don't have to manage that, they don't have to spend much time and cost to manage that. You probably call it externalizing the agent cost into the informal economy. But agents, in the case of M-pesa, are not used as any source of information. Like you could use agents to build groups so that together you understand how you use M-pesa or give feedback. That's my main point about using agents. Again, in the end, agents have to follow the certain procedure, have to follow the know your client, know your customer procedure as well. And whenever things go wrong, there's a certain procedure to solve that. But now it is a very one-way thing. You do a transaction for us, we earn money. Rather than, fine, you are engaged with the client, what do they think of it? How can we improve it? And the third one was about monopoly, I think. Yeah, and competition indeed. I can't really answer that one, so I probably should compare it with, I think in Tanzania there are more providers, that would probably be a good comparison. My assumption is that it doesn't help that there is very limited competition in Kenya, so they can do whatever they like, and they can concentrate on their technology, on distributing these 90,000 agents, and on marketing. That's their real strength. They're not so strong in cloud. Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to take in a couple of questions. Yes, sir, please.
And so you mentioned Kenya, you pointed out that M-pesa is a bit of a monopoly. If I compare it with my own country, Ethiopia, it's a telecom company owned by the government. Mobile money is not allowed yet, it's being introduced now. The point is that we had a meeting, Safaricom is involved with the research project I'm doing, coordinating in Rotterdam School of Management. We were having a meeting a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a bit longer, in Africa, where there were many representatives from different countries. And what emerged was that when the representative of Safaricom made his presentation about M-pesa, many, especially ones from Ethiopia, indicated that they don't have those kinds of choices. They don't have that kind of service, actually. So when you point out that M-pesa is not empowering, doesn't it depend on the counterfactual? What if it was not there in the beginning, or if you compare it with another country where it doesn't exist at all? So what do you say? Is it a black and white, or is it relative?
Can we
Sure.
answer first, see where are all the questions you have?
Yes, thank you very much. I really like the way you kind of operationalize from this firm perspective how to include the customer or the people. I think that is very insightful, actually. But my question is, do you have any idea, on also following your question, so who are these agents or the customers, and depending on the region or where they are, men, women, or age, or who is doing what and why, etc. I think that would be very interesting to find out. And finally, you kind of hit over that slide, but I was wondering if you know or if you have considered what would actually be the interest or the incentive for M-pesa to become more frugal, and have you discussed this with them? I would be interested to know how they, what they would have to say about that.
First, did Eva raise her hand? Yes. Oh, yes. Then Lyndon, then Jack, and then Mark, and then we find, and then you can answer the question.
Let me write it down.
First, Eva.
I just wanted to let you know that because you're talking, a couple of people were raising questions about the monopoly effect of M-pesa. And there's one article written about Amartya Sen's ideas of freedom and how the network effect created by M-pesa is actually kind of hampering that freedom, because you can't really choose for an alternative, because if you go even to a competitor, you'll have higher transaction costs, so M-pesa is just keeping that kind of monopoly in place. And I'm not sure who the author is, but it's somewhere in my literature references if you want to read it. And the second thing is, but I'll tell you about that later in my presentation, that Zona in Zambia actually told me that they see their customers not as the customers who do their transactions, but as the agents. The agents are their customers. So you also said that Safaricom only controls about 10% of their agents directly, and maybe the agents are the ones who would actually be able to make this service frugal, and by trying to link the customers directly to Safaricom, maybe you get a different view if you view these issues through agents and how they customize services within the parameters enabled by Safaricom.
So I didn't do please.
This is kind of an attempt to understand the way you have arrived your conclusion better. At your conclusion better. You see, why is hearing and listening to customers so important for an innovation to be frugal? Is something that I haven't quite understood. I mean, I can understand if you are talking about human innovation, humanistic innovation, or maybe inclusive innovation, but why is it so important for frugality?
Jack.
Yeah. I just had a question overall on whether the points you were making actually answer the question of whether it's frugal innovation or whether it's answering would I like to use the service. Are they providing high-class service? And then just one methodological question. You're making statements on what customers think of the product, but if I remember correctly, you only had 7 respondents that were customers. Is that correct? 11. Out of 21 million or so.
You make the point.
It's a stop. Thanks, Jack. Ralph?
Yeah, maybe it's too much to ask, but it does build on 2 or 3 of the other questions, and it's about the competition element. We heard maybe one answer already. The question would be if M-pesa is actually not doing a very good job, and especially not regarding the disempowered segments. I expect that there's no law against competition. So why is no one taking them on? And maybe one of the answers was provided by Eva, saying, okay, they are so entrenched that the barrier for others is too high in some way. But what are your thoughts on that?
All right, let's first do this competition one. I think it was several people discussed that one. We probably cite the same source, but I don't have the name of this source in our paper. I will find it back. Basically, what they say there is kind of a natural monopoly. For the simple reason, it's a high investment, high technology approach. So it's, you could say, mobile payments or a mobile network operator needs a lot of cash and a lot of technological knowledge to operate. And so there is a drive towards this natural monopoly. So there are high barriers. At the same time, when we talk to clients, and indeed we only talked to 11 clients and did a few ethnographies, so that's quite limited. But we did find a bit the same elements in the literature we looked at. That clients are not really satisfied with services. There is as well, that's the figure Safaricom gave us, that clients after 6 or 9 months basically leave, meaning they're still in the system but they hardly use it. And they're revamped by sending them an SMS like, now you get a discount, or if you now use the system you get something extra, whatever. So there's a constant marketing to keep people going, rather than the people naturally use it. But again, I have to use these brackets because it's more hearsay that we research it ourselves. I'm not sure if that as well from your questions regarding Ethiopia. I'm not sure if you can repeat your question because I didn't get it.
Well, I would say is Safaricom or M-pesa, is it frugal or not? It's not a yes or no question. It's a relative question. Compared to nothing, I would say it's more frugal.
That's a very good point. So I think before it was mentioned, so people before would send money by bus to their country, to their family or whatever, which was risky, didn't always arrive, it was expensive. Or through the post office, same thing, it takes days before you get it, expensive, and then you would have to go to the post office. So I would say it is certainly an improvement with before, but at the same time I would say if you look at the total spectrum, it caters for mid-level and higher poor people, so not to the lower level poor people. That's the point. But again, if you have nothing, something like M-pesa is a great improvement, and I would say it helps developing the economy. I think someone asked as well about the agents. This is based on agents. In fact, there is also quite a high agent turnover. Sometimes because of the super agents. So super agents, they own the lines, the transaction lines. They sometimes use this line to give somewhere else, because there is a higher opportunity there, or someone pays them. But as well, the sub-agents, sometimes are like months and then they move on. And that's one reason why M-pesa doesn't want to train them. You keep on training them and then they move on to something else. So it's probably not a very interesting business to stay in for a long time, unless you have something like a shop and this is an additional fee. And before the fees you receive were a bit higher, now you get less. And I think that was discussed already before. I think you asked, why is listening to clients important? I would say if you want to deliver client-oriented service, that you know what is their issue, what is their fear, what do they actually want, then you are obliged to listen to them and get this feedback. If you wouldn't do it, then you basically develop your technical product, fine, you put it there, and you use marketing and monopoly power, and then people will have to use it. But like I hope the case showed, that at the lower end of the market, people have difficulties using M-pesa. Again, because they receive SMSs that they don't understand. Or they have to call the call center to correct the mistakes. Roughly 1 in 10 transactions goes wrong to the wrong person because you put the wrong number. And then you have to wait 10, 20, 30 minutes before you get someone from the call center to answer. And in 50% of the cases, they can't solve your issue, and you have to go to one of these centers somewhere in the city.
Please forgive me for interrupting, but I think the question was related to frugal, right?
Yeah, of course.
So why is that related to frugal?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably not specifically related to frugal, but more related towards if you want to develop a service, you will have to listen to clients. And probably even more so for frugal clients, because these clients are more complicated, because they probably have fewer skills to understand what you deliver. They can't read and write.
Isn't it possible, isn't it possible just to argue from a different standpoint, that in order to have a very expensive customer care services, it's expensive, it requires high technology, and it requires either high technology or very elaborate personal management division, and so therefore they are not able to do that.
Yeah, I think you could use agents. I think that was mentioned for Zambia. And you could use agents for that. You train your agents to listen to clients, and then as a provider of the service, you take care that these agents are able to help these disabled clients. But M-pesa is not doing that. M-pesa is interested in agents as transaction generators. And when you get the training, you only need to have to be financially sound to be an agent. And then you can do your transactions. And I didn't cite it here, but there was some research by the financial sector deepening trust in Kenya that a few percent of agents, can't remember whether it was 2 or 3% of agents, are probably fraudulent. They give, for instance, fake money back. They just can't continue. There's not much control over that. I see you're not 100% convinced.
But this is a reaction problem to this,
Yes.
right?
I wonder if one of the interesting elements that your case brings out is that there is sometimes a contradiction between being frugal, i.e. cheap, and being inclusive.
Yeah.
So it is the very customers that are the poorest that you're saying they are not responding to effectively in order to keep costs down, whereas the argument of frugal innovation often is you are frugal so that you can reach the poorest.
I would indeed follow your argument. I would say to reach the poorest, you might have to invest more, meaning in these trainings and voice SMS or things like that, and the benefits will be very limited. And it might well be that Safaricom will vote against it. That's their commercial point of view, doesn't fit. But then the argument is, are they really a frugal innovation, or are they more delivering kind of middle class or below that level of service?
Okay. Everyone is open. If the question was answered.
I forgot one, but I can't answer it.
Where was that?
I don't know.
Okay. much looking forward. M-pesa, Kenya, we're very keen to know what's going on in Zambia, and even this is coming to tell us all. With regard to mobile money. Yeah, that's right.